right, Fantasy Bros. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Astrology channel. We're back on the grind for the 2022 season. We got a theme going here. Who is this year's Ja'Marr Chase? So just like in yesterday's video, we're doing a who is comparison, and I'm using astrology to try to find the closest patterns to what Ja'Marr Chase was, using many different factors, trying to find who is the most likely to succeed. Of course, Ja'Marr Chase last year was one of the easiest to predict for success because we already saw what Joe Burrow and him did in college. And I was telling everybody, okay, the astrology is this, but for these types of situations, you don't worry about the astrology. You don't second guess anything. You just pick Ja'Marr Chase if he falls to you. This year, I am 100% saying the same thing with a guy named Drake London. Guys, there are parallels with Drake London, Marcus Mariota, as Joe Burrow was to Ja'Marr Chase. They were both fire and water signs. Drake London is a Leo. He's a fire. Mariota is a Scorpio. Okay, so water loves to move into fire. That's how it works, right? On the astrological wheel, all right? That's how it's going to work. Water moves into fire. They're both fixed signs, just like Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase were both fire and water. They were both mutable signs. Okay, so we're going to see some confluence, a lot of similarities between these guys, okay? Drake London, if you don't know, he's a quarterback. He's a target machine. He's a red zone monster. He's just about anything you could want. Also, he's got, with him being a Leo, Kyle Pitts being a Libra, that doesn't bode well for Kyle Pitts. I still expect Kyle Pitts to have a really good year, but I expect Drake London to be a more serious attraction to Marcus Mariota. Okay, so Drake London, he's already on the top of the boards, just like Ja'Marr Chase was last year. If you can get your hands on Drake London, don't question it. Pull the trigger, guys. We know what these rookie wide receivers are doing these days. Number 2, okay, this might come as a little bit of surprise to some people because I jumped Sky Moore in my rankings. As a Virgo, and Patrick Mahomes as a Virgo, we just know he's going to be getting better quarterback play, and Sky Moore is just that perfect prototype of what they needed. They want to transition Mahomes into that Tom Brady type, cerebral type, picking you apart with those receptions. I expect Sky Moore to be a bit of a PPR machine. And check this out. Miko Hardman is a Pisces, just like Tyreek Hill was. So now Miko Hardman is going to be able to be that full expression of that Pisces now, because Tyreek Hill was kind of wearing the pants there. And so nature abhors a vacuum, right? So now he's going to be able to be the lead Pisces in that offense. That's an opposites attract. Guys, don't be afraid to draft Miko Hardman this year. He's going to be the new deep bomb threat. Sky Moore, Kelsey are going to be getting all that underneath stuff. And we also got to keep our eye out for that Watson player too, okay? So he's a pretty quick, good kid, that Justin Watson. But these are all just the rookie wide receivers. We're trying to find this year's Ja'Marr Chase or Justin Jefferson. So these are all just the rookie rankings, guys. Coming down to Chris Olave as a Cancer. Cancer is one of my favorite positions for an athlete. Barry Sanders was a Cancer. Antonio Brown was a Cancer. Mike Tyson was a Cancer. Some of the most phenomenal athletes in history are Cancers. And Chris Olave is no slouch, okay? We know he's a speedy guy. He's going to be competing with Michael Thomas as a Pisces. He's going to be competing with Jarvis Landry as a Sagittarius. Both of those guys are mutable signs. What do we know about Jameson Wilson? He is a Capricorn. Okay, so that's a cardinal sign. Cardinal wants to move into, well, this is his polar opposite. Cardinal, okay, they're going to attract like magnets. Cancer and Cardinal are polar opposite signs. So I expect Chris Olave to actually have the best astrology in this offense. So I jumped him a little bit higher on this list too, okay? Moving on to Garrett Wilson, just because I dropped him in my rankings a little bit doesn't mean I don't absolutely love Garrett Wilson. I just don't like his quarterback play as much as I do the other players here, well, sans Drake London, but Garrett Wilson, being a Leo, is actually, in my opinion, a better position than Elijah Moore, okay? Remember, we had this experiment happen over the years to see who is that Zach Wilson as a Leo, who's going to be attracted to more. Remember, he's not going to want to move into that cardinal sign as much, even though Aries is a fire sign, and we think that's great. But what we found, like in the Dak Prescotts, he wasn't really moving to CeeDee Lamb as much as we had thought. So I've noticed that quarterbacks like to stick in the same sign. And so I expect Garrett Wilson to have better draw with Zach Wilson. And I expect him to have better draw with Joe Flacco as well. Remember, we don't know if Zach Wilson's going to be there. Joe Flacco is a Capricorn. They want to move into fixed, right? Capricorns want to move into the fixed signs. And so that's how Garrett Wilson's shaking out. I love him, absolutely, okay? Moving on to Jahan Dotson. He's a cusp Aries. He's right there on the cusp. And so what we're looking at is you have Carson Wentz is a Capricorn as well. And so once again, he's at home with the cardinal sign here. He's not as much home moving towards that mutable sign with Terry McLaurin. So I think that bodes well. I think Jahan Dotson is going to have a bit of a stronger attraction in that way. We'll see how it works out, guys. Moving on, number 6. This is probably like my cutoff list. Like I'll draft all these 6 guys pretty fearlessly. Okay, I'm not avoiding these guys really if they fall to me. Just because Sky Moore is ahead of Chris Olave, look, and most, like on ESPN, Sky Moore's ranked a lot lower, so it doesn't mean I'm going to reach that hard for Sky Moore. I'm going to take Chris Olave, I'm going to take Garrett Wilson if he falls to me, and when Sky Moore comes around, I will reach for him then. But just be smart about it, guys. Okay, so number 6, Jameson Williams. I talked about him in my last video. Another Aries. We want to get our hands on Aries this year, as Jupiter is going to be in Aries at the beginning of the football season. So Jameson Williams, by the time he comes off injury, we'll see if Jupiter's still there. But guys, he's got a dynamic connection with Jared Goff as a polar opposite. He's just a phenomenal athlete. And if you got an injured reserve spot, you cannot resist the value there. Okay, moving on, George Pickens. Now, you guys notice I've dropped him pretty far in my rankings here. He's much higher on other people's lists. As a Pisces, this was a really challenging one for me to evaluate because Pisces, once again, Jupiter's moving into Pisces. We want to get Pisces this year a lot, okay? So it is a pretty decent pick. See if I can fix my camera that just fell. Okay. All right. So it is a good pick, George Pickens. But with Trubisky there, I don't like the quarterback play. I don't like, we've never really seen Mitchell. I don't like that offensive line. I really just don't like the situation where he's got a lot of competition for targets. I think with Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson both being cancers, they can really draw Mitchell Trubisky his attention a lot more than George Pickens. He's a rookie, all the above, guys. There's a lot of talent in that receiving core. So I've dropped George Pickens quite a bit down. Plus, I think Pickens is a bit of an injury risk. He plays at such a hyper-aggressive style that, to me, that bodes more towards injury. So avoiding him for a few reasons. Wan'Dale Robinson, I actually really like him in that New York Giants offense, okay? Once again, as a cardinal sign, he's going to draw Danny Jones's mutable. He's going to draw that even probably more efficiently than Kadarius Toney, more efficiently than Kenny and Galladay because they're both fixed signs, okay? Romeo Doubs, I talked about him yesterday. Once again, we're getting that Aries coming into Jupiter. Perfect astrology with Rodgers. This is one that it's hard to really invest in because he's such a late round pick, but man, does he really have the chemistry going in a perfect way. I have him just one spot above Christian Watson, who I really love the talent of Christian Watson as a Taurus. fire does want to move towards earth. And Christian Watson, his athletic profile, I mean, he reminds me, I know this is really big to say, but he reminds me athletically of Randy Moss. So it's really hard to not take a chance on Christian Watson, but when you got so much other talent here that feels so much more sure to me, I'm really not getting a lot of Christian Watson this year, okay? Moving on to Kyle Phillips. Guys, I have him head of Treylon Burks. This guy plays for the Titans. He's kind of like a rich man's, I call him a rich man's Hunter Renfrow. I think he's a bit more athletic than Hunter Renfrow is. About the same type of build. Probably will be in that slot, but he's a Gemini, okay? Tannehill, as a Leo, is going to want to move into that Gemini very naturally. That's like the same thing as Kirk Cousins moving into Justin Jefferson. Really good astrology for those guys. And I got him ahead of Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, I do expect some pretty big things out of him this year, being that it's his Jupiter year. I don't like that he is a cardinal sign. Remember, fixed wants to move into mutable, not cardinal. So Tannehill will not want to be moving into Treylon Burks. But here's the thing. Treylon Burks is kind of a deep threat, okay? And Tannehill is more, in my opinion, more of a deep ball thrower in that way. So there's a lot to like about Treylon Burks. I have a hard time getting him on any of my teams. But, guys, a lot to love here. A lot of good rookies. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for staying tuned in, and all the best.